More so than usual. Huh?
Right. Well, welcome to Wednesday, February 10th, not September 10th. Yeah, Chris, I'm going to let you introduce Tiffany. And then I have one question I'm supposed to ask Tiffany.
You want to ask the question before or after?
Huh?
You're going to ask the question before or after?
I'll ask it now while it's fresh on my head and in my email. It says to ask her about her custom rotary high heels.
Oh, yeah.
They're here. I have 2 pairs now.
All right.
So this was the first pair.
Oh my gosh.
No, they're 5-inch rhinestone heels that say Rotary Geek. And then since I was governor last year, I had to wait till after our International Assembly, or 2 years ago, whatever now for International Assembly. But so I had another pair made with our theme, the Rotary Connects the World logo. So they're the same shoe, but different. So I could wear them together, and have one of each. But I have only had these on twice in the last 11 months, and it's killing me. So it's killing me. I'm wearing boots and tennis shoes every day. And so, yeah, so these are my Rotary heels.
Gosh, based on that, Tiffany, I'm not sure you really need an introduction, but I'll do a little introduction for you anyway.
Something I don't have yet.
It's great to have Tiffany Ervin with us this evening to talk to us about a very special project, Coins for Alzheimer's Research. And I want to tell you a little bit about Tiffany. But before I do, Tiffany, let me tell you a little bit about those of us on the call here tonight. So we've got participants from the state of Washington, Texas, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Florida. Keith, where are you normally from? I can't hear you.
Virginia, sorry.
Virginia. And Ron, you're California, right? Yep. David?
Yep.
You're from?
Georgia.
Georgia. Scott's California. James Dodmead is from?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Jerry's in Michigan. Rory's in Michigan. Mickey is in?
Ohio.
Ohio. Emilio, which part of the world are you in today?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. And Tom Dines, are you in Colorado or Florida? Tom, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I'm in Florida now, headed to Colorado this summer.
There you go. So
Did you get Linda?
And Linda was the state of Washington, yes. She was the first one that I said. So anyway, that's a little bit about us here on the call. And there's more of us that may be joining as the call goes on tonight. But for everybody here, let me tell you a little bit about Tiffany. And I've known Tiffany for a number of years. She and I have been best buds. In fact, I think we were the 2 original Rotary geeks, if I could say that, right, Tiffany? And she's spoken to my home club of when I was in that club, the Rotary Club of Lake Norman Huntersville. She'll be speaking to my home club of the Rotary Club of Cabarrus County here shortly. But Tiffany is an award-winning keynote speaker. She's a commercial spokesperson, sideline reporter, and television personality. She sent me this really long bio, and I'm going to cut it short, just a couple of the highlights. She's a solopreneur who teaches social media, operates an online boutique on eBay called Fashion Geek Tiffany. Can you imagine that? Rotary Geek and Fashion Geek Tiffany. She's known worldwide as the Rotary Geek. She's served Rotary District 7670 as a public image chair, and she was governor in the year of 1920. She's had the opportunity to lead breakout sessions at the 2015 and 17 Rotary International Conventions and more than 150 other Rotary District conferences, pets, and seminars around the United States, and I'm sure soon it will be the world. We are truly honored, Tiffany, to have you with us tonight, and we so look forward to hearing you talk about one of your favorite topics, Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust. So let's all give our attention to Tiffany.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, Chris and I have been buds for a long time, and I am just in awe of this club. I want to start by saying that because what you guys have done is an incredible thing, and I would love to mimic this and do a similar club based around Alzheimer's research and the C.A.R.T fund. So I'm definitely watching what you guys are doing. I'll try to get to the questions at the end, but I see that one popping up. So I'm going to answer that very early on because I think it's really important. The definition of a geek is someone who is enthusiastic about a topic of which they have some knowledge. So you can see how Chris and I are obviously Rotary geeks, and I bet many of you are as well. I know some of you are. And so it's interesting because people have different opinions of the word geek, that it's a nerd, or it's really someone who's enthusiastic about a topic of which they have some knowledge. And I have a little bit of Rotary knowledge, but I'm always learning more because I think that's really important. And since I don't know with your composite makeup, how many of you are members of other clubs? I know some of you are not, I believe. I'm going to base my program, and I don't really call it a speech or a presentation. I like to have a conversation with you. And I know that a lot of you haven't heard me speak before. So I'm going to share some personal information, but I love talking about the C.A.R.T Fund, and I love talking about Rotary because I'm very passionate about it. And it'll be interesting to share my story with you, and how I became this Rotary geek, but also how I became so passionate about the C.A.R.T Fund. So for those of you who don't know me, and I understand now you're telling me that there are some of you in Germany, so you didn't know the term geek. But let me also say I'm very Southern, and I'm probably the opposite of what you expect with Southern women who have that Southern drawl and they talk like this. Well, I talk really, really fast. I do have the Southern accent, but I have a tendency to talk a lot and to talk fast. So I'm going to apologize for that up front. I'm a Carolina girl, grew up in South Carolina, live in North Carolina now. And I do talk really fast. So I apologize up front. So I hope that all of the terms that I use will translate from Southern to whatever. I know a lot of people have a hard time understanding me sometimes, but I think that there are really three things that have influenced me and helped me get to this point today. And I just wanted to share a couple of quick stories with you because I think it helps you understand who I am and where I came from. So, and how I got here. So I am what they affectionately call a PK. Do any of you know what that is? You can just nod. Yeah, I see you guys nodding. It's a preacher's kid, for those of you who don't know. My daddy is a retired Methodist minister. And so I grew up always knowing the difference between right and wrong and having parents who gave me positive influences and were supportive and caring and loving. And I'm very blessed and very fortunate to have had that kind of experience growing up. I had lots of adopted grandparents who were always helping, and we always had Sunday lunch at somebody's house. And but how many of you guys, and again, you can just nod if you remember this, how many of you grew up in communities or in churches that had church league softball or church league? You guys remember that, right? So we did too. That the church would put together a softball league or a basketball league, or and I was the youngest of three children. And so my brother and sister, who were 10 and 12 years older than me, they always played softball with my mom and dad, but I never really got to. I just usually played in the dirt because I was so young. And so I can remember, though, one time we got to a softball game and we were late getting there because my daddy had a meeting that night. And when we got there, we walked up to the dugout and my daddy says, "Hey, Dennis, how we doing?" Dennis says, "Preacher, we're down 16-0. My daddy says, "Oh my gosh, it's going to be a long night, isn't it?" And he said, "It's okay, preacher. Don't worry. We hadn't batted yet." And so that was one of those lessons that I learned growing up, was that no matter what I was facing, it was going to be okay. My daddy would say, "Hang in there, baby. It's going to be okay. You just hadn't batted yet." And that was a really good lesson for me. And I think that growing up in that environment with my daddy as a positive influence in my life, I think that I was destined to get involved in Rotary and to give back to others, and the whole concept of service above self before I even knew what Rotary was. Now, the other thing that influenced me growing up, I'm also what they call a has-been beauty queen. I competed in the Miss America organization, I don't know, 100 years ago now, it seems like. And I've heard all those misconceptions that you have about us pageant girls. I've heard the one about the girl in interview. She was asked, "What is your opinion of euthanasia?" And she said, I believe they should have the same rights as youth in America. You know, you can't hurt my feelings. I've heard all those stories. The reality is that opportunity for me helped me pay for my college education. It helped me develop my public speaking skills and my interviewing skills. And here's a piece of interesting trivia for you. I won talent in the Miss South Carolina pageant playing dueling banjos on the flute. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it later. Don't do it now, but you can always find that later. It's pretty funny. But it was a great opportunity for me. And part of the concept of the Miss America organization is community service and giving back to others. So I think I was destined to become involved in Rotary and to be giving back and the concept of service above self and become this Rotary geek even before I knew what Rotary was. And so I'm grateful that over the years, I've had the opportunity to share my Rotary story with new Rotarians and seasoned Rotarians and people who are thinking about joining Rotary, to let them know that I think that over the years, I've kind of figured out what makes me tick. And for each of us, something different makes us tick, right? We are each inspired and motivated by different things. Here's what I've learned. I've learned that who we are is what we do with what we have. Who we are is what we do with what we have. You see, here's the thing about me. I'm never going to be a major donor in the Rotary Foundation unless I win a lottery or something, because I'm one of those Rotarians that's paying $100 a year or $10 a month, $30 a quarter, because it's the right thing to do to donate to the Rotary Foundation. But I can't write a big check to the Rotary Foundation. I'm out there trying to figure out how to pay my mortgage every month, like a lot of other people. And I think there's a misconception out there that in order to be a district governor, or in order to be, another position in Rotary, or even to be involved in Rotary at all, that you have to be able to write those big checks. And that's not the case. Because I believe that we all have something different that we bring to the table. We all have something that we can offer, whether it's a talent, a skill, a passion, a checkbook, or time, or talents, whatever it might be. We all have something different. So for each of us, we have to figure out what it is that we bring to the table, and we have to figure out what's missing from our table. Who are the people that we need in our club, in our organization, in our community, on our committee, that can bring something different to the table than what we offer. And so I got an opportunity about 10 years ago now, to go on an international service trip to deliver wheelchairs in Medellin, Colombia, to children who have spina bifida. So my mother was born with spina bifida, and going on this trip, I was like some of you. I had been in Rotary for many years at the time, about 10 probably at that point, and I had done everything. I chaired every committee, I had volunteered for everything, I showed up for every meeting, and I was in Rotary, but Rotary wasn't in me. And it wasn't until I saved my money to go on this trip, because I couldn't pay for a trip to South America. I had to save my money to make this trip. But going on that trip changed everything for me, because for the first time, I saw a woman pick up her child off of a dirt floor and put him in a wheelchair and give him mobility and independence for the very first time. And everything changed for me. And at that point, I thought I had found my passion in Rotary. I thought that this is where I am going to make a difference from here on out. And it was a great opportunity. And I'm still very supportive of that program. But here's what I didn't know, was that a few years later, my mother, my best friend, was going to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And what I've learned since then is that we all know someone, either a loved one, a family member, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, a community leader, even if it's a celebrity that we've seen on television or heard on the radio. We all know something about Alzheimer's, and we've all been affected by it in some form or fashion. And I didn't realize that it was that prevalent until I started learning more because of my mom. So my involvement in Rotary got to be a little bit more with this organization called C.A.R.T. And for years, I went to a Rotary club that supported C.A.R.T a lot like most other Rotary clubs did. We had a blue bucket that looks like this, that would sit in the center, there's the front of it, would sit in the center of a table. And so everyone would show up for breakfast or lunch, and you would throw your spare change into the bucket and shake it and raise some money. And then we would send it in to this separate nonprofit. And over the years, we raised millions of dollars from spare change. It was the most incredible thing ever. And all of a sudden, I learned more about it, and I learned more. And I realized that this is where I could make an impact and where I could make a difference. Because people say to me all the time, I'm just one person. You guys have all heard that story. I'm not going to go into the Abe Lincoln was one person and Henry Ford was one, whatever. We've all heard all those stories, right? I want to tell you about two people who were just one person that made a difference. One, you've all heard of him, Paul Harris. Think about it for a minute. Who would have ever thought that one guy in 1905 would invite three of his friends out for lunch, and 115 years later, or almost 116 years later this month, we would be 1.2 million people around the world, all because one person had an idea. And that's exactly what happened in Sumter, South Carolina, almost 20 years ago, when one man named Roger Ackerman believed that by throwing our spare change into a bucket every week at our Rotary meeting, we could find a cure for Alzheimer's. He was very specific when he set up this program. He wanted 100% of every dollar, every dime, every penny donated to go to research. Now, I don't know how many of you are in the nonprofit world. I've worked in nonprofits for many, many years, either in direct fundraising or in marketing and PR. And that is unheard of, right? We all would agree that that is unheard of. But that is still, to this day, 20 years later, how the C.A.R.T Fund operates. 100% of the donations that go into those little blue buckets in 23 districts currently is going into research. In the last few years, since let's see, we're at 2020 now. So in about the last 10 to 15 years, we have given over $9.2 million in research. Now, granted, not all of it these days is coming from little blue buckets. And let me tell you, had we known a year ago that the entire Rotary world was going to shut down with in-person meetings and that lots of people were going to be doing what you guys are doing, we probably would have started the different types of fundraising even sooner. But fortunately, many clubs did have the foresight to really think about this years before and try to come up with alternative ways of fundraising. Some people did 5Ks, and some people did golf tournaments or bowling tournaments or concerts or things that, because they were passionate about Alzheimer's, they wanted to raise additional money for C.A.R.T. So I will clarify and say that $9 million has not come out of spare change in people's buckets. We do things now like put change containers in restaurants or just changing our way of thinking. A few years ago, I told my club that I wanted to do a fundraiser for C.A.R.T to help my club, because in our district, we have a competition. Everybody likes a little competition, right? And we would do a competition amongst the clubs to see who could raise the most money for C.A.R.T each year. So I wanted to do a special fundraiser. And I started thinking, everybody does a 5K or an 8K or a 10K. Everybody does a golf tournament, right? So y'all, the four most dangerous words in my Rotary district are when you hear me say, I have an idea. People get really nervous. So I show up to my club board meeting and I said, I have an idea. And they go, oh, great, here we go. So we didn't do a 5K or an 8K or 10K. We did a 0K. It's all the fun without the run. That's my kind of race. Let's be clear. I have I printed up these little stickers that say 0.0. We gave those out. We sold tickets. We had a band. We had a buffet. We would do the starting gun and everybody races to the bar. It's a great fundraiser. You can do them virtually now. We didn't even know that at the time. But it just proves the point that we have people say to me all the time, you really think outside the box. Guys, there is no box. Isn't that the best part about this, is that who would have thunk a year ago we would be doing all of our Rotary meetings online and that we would miss the opportunity to speak and to hug and to shake hands and to fellowship. But we have found alternative ways of doing that. And that's why I'm really grateful that we have found the same way to raise money for such an important organization like C.A.R.T, where 20 years later, 100% of the donations are still going to research grants. About 45 research institutions around the country have received grants over the years. It's really an incredible concept. So right before the pandemic hit, we started thinking again, a little bigger, like what can we do? And I say we because I've been involved with this organization for a long time, and I'm now the vice president of public image for the board. So when I say we, I mean we, the big picture of Rotary, not just the 8 people on the board. But we started thinking, what can we do to raise more money? And to raise more awareness and to really widen our footprint. And so we started working on an online donor portal, which ironically was in the process about 6 months before the pandemic hit. So the pandemic shut everything down last March here in the States. And the rollout was scheduled for early May of this online donor portal. And so we are very fortunate that we have had that for the past year. I was on an executive committee meeting earlier this week, and we have to come up with a date that we come up with how much money have we raised by a certain date, and that's how much money we will award that year. And for this year, that date is March 15th. And our goal is to give away $1 million in research grants this year. We've done it 2 consecutive years. And I'll be darned, I do not want this pandemic to be the excuse that we use that we didn't give away $1 million. So I got the report on Monday, and I'll tell you where we are. We are at $910,990. We are literally about $89,000 away, and we have about 5 weeks to do it. So I'm making a plea so this is perfect timing for me to share with you guys what we're doing, but for you guys to take it back to the other clubs in your communities, if you're a member of other clubs, but more than just Rotary, because Rotary isn't the only group of people who are passionate about finding a cure for Alzheimer's. I believe that we all have different passions and talents and skills and things that we bring to the table, as I mentioned earlier. But my advice to you is to find your passion and make it your purpose. For me, my purpose in Rotary is to share my Rotary. I get to share my Rotary story, but my purpose is to encourage other people to find their adventure in service, to find their passion. And my purpose also is to help find a cure for Alzheimer's. Right before I became district governor, which has now been almost 2 years ago, because I served during 2019, 2020, as Chris said, someone gave me a copy of this book. And I don't know how long each of you have been in Rotary. So I don't know how many of you have, for some of you have been around for a long time, you may remember this book. It's called Adventure in Service. Some of you remember it. It used to be given to new Rotarians, almost like an orientation manual when you join the organization. There's actually a set, and they're hanging on my wall. There's one called 7 Paths to Peace, and Service is My Business, and then Adventure in Service. And they're different color binders depending on what year they were published. So last year, 2020, as I was going to be wrapping up my year as governor, I was also turning 50. You can do the math. So I decided, I was born in 1970. And so I found this copy of Adventure in Service on eBay. As Chris mentioned, I own an eBay store, so I'm on eBay every day anyway. But I found this book that was printed the year I was born. So I thought it would be super cool to read this book and see all the things that had changed about Rotary from the time I was born to the time I became district governor. And I just wanted to share with you quickly, here's what I learned, that sometimes as much as things change, sometimes they stay the same. And I learned some really interesting facts about Rotary from way back that still are applicable today. And if you are a Rotary geek or Rotary nerd, love Rotary, whatever you want to call it, like I do, you may want to find you a copy of some of these books and read them. They have a picture of Paul Harris in the front. They had a place where when it was given to you, they would fill out your name and things like that. But it says in this book 2 things, that when you join Rotary, you're told 2 things. Number 1, you were chosen for this organization. Wow. I don't know about y'all, but I was never told that. I mean, the first club I joined was because someone asked me to, that I trusted and believed in. The second club I joined was because my boss told me to. I mean, I don't know how many of you remember that situation, right? So I don't think I was ever told that I was chosen for this organization. But just imagine if you were told that then or now? Because I'm telling you now, the truth is you were chosen for this organization for a reason. We all have different talents and skills and passions and things that we bring to the table. The second thing that you were told when you got a copy of this book was that you're about to begin an adventure in service. I love that concept. The fact that we can serve, we can network, we can fellowship, we can have common causes and goals and interests. And for some of you, you may be passionate about eradicating polio and wear that purple pinky all the time. For some of you, you may be passionate about putting a dictionary in the hand of a third grader, or you might be passionate about digging wells so that people have clean water, or whatever it might be. For some of you, it might be that you're passionate about finding a cure for Alzheimer's. We all have different skills and talents and passions that we bring to the table. My advice is to find your passion and make it your purpose. And whether it's volunteering for C.A.R.T or Polio Plus or road safety or whatever the case might be with this club and with you individually, we can help you find a place in this organization where you can seriously make an impact, make a difference, where you can serve and you can provide an adventure in service for yourself while doing service above self. It's an amazing opportunity that we have. And I'm grateful for all the opportunities I have to share my Rotary story. If you are members of other clubs and you want me to speak to your club, I'll be happy to talk about C.A.R.T and how we are raising money to find a cure for Alzheimer's and how important it is to me, because I watched my mother die from this disease. This past Friday was the 3-year anniversary of her death. And, you know, watching someone that you love with Alzheimer's is very, very hard. And I'm sure that all of you, if not all of you, have had that experience in some form or fashion. And I can tell you that you look for small wins, right? Wherever you can find them. And the smallest but most memorable win that I can share with you about my mom and I we did everything together. We were very, very close. And I'll never forget the day that she looked at me and said, "Today's Mother's Day." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, it is." And she said, "Why are you spending the day with me? Wouldn't you rather go spend the day with your mom and be with her today?" And it was heartbreaking. It was like a knife to my gut. But later that afternoon, she said, "What grade are you in?" And I thought, I look pretty young. She thinks I'm in high school. So you find those small wins wherever you can take them. And those are the moments that I hang on to, because I know that what I'm doing every single day by trying to find a cure for this disease is in honor of her. And I was telling Linda earlier that when I was district governor last year, we were doing a big fundraiser at my district conference. On Friday night, we were doing, I'm also a sports reporter. I've been a sideline reporter for many years and a huge sports fan. And so we were doing Friday night lights at my district conference. We were having a whole sports theme. And I had these fabulous Rotary jerseys made, and I happen to be wearing one. I'm going to stand up so you can kind of see it. It's got Rotary on it, but it's got the C.A.R.T logo on one side. And these were going to be a gift to every person who attended my conference. And then we were selling the rest of them for a fundraiser for C.A.R.T. And then the conference got canceled. Y'all hear my dog? Sorry. And so 500 of these jerseys were sitting in my house after the conference was canceled. So we immediately started selling them all. And now we've been able to raise even more money for C.A.R.T because of them. So I do have a limited supply of them left, about 100 still in my house that I would love to sell. They're $20 each. They have the Rotary logo on the front. They have a sponsor logo on the back and the year 20 for the number. And they have the People of Action logo and the C.A.R.T logo. They're $20. I still have a handful of size large, and I have some extra large and 2XL, but they do run small. And they're $20 a piece, plus $4 for shipping. And if you are interested in those, you can just email me. Linda was asking me if I had an order form, and they used to be on my website where you could buy them, until I got a cease and desist letter from Rotary a few weeks ago. So we won't go there. I will just say that you can contact me directly, and I will be happy to get one to you. But I see there might be some questions, so I'm happy to answer any other questions that you guys have. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share my Rotary story with you.
Would you mind putting your email address in the chat? I would very much like to.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. Mm-hmm. And any other questions that you guys have, I don't know if my internet is spotty or something, I'm not sure, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And I did say $4 shipping, but that's not to Germany. Let's be clear.
I'm not in Germany, I'm in Texas.
Fabulous.
So. Mhm.
I talk a lot, so you probably don't have any questions. I tell my entire life story, but I'm happy to answer any. If
You're
you
fine, you're fine.
I think at the last conference that we had in person, there was a challenge for Alzheimer's bucket, and I think for District 7750 that year was close to $200,000.
Mhm.
If I
Yes,
recall.
that's the district where it started, and so they're usually first place for the competition, and then my district is usually second. I will share with you guys, there is a brand new website that we have with the donor portal, and I'll put that in the chat as well. But it's so cartfund.org is where you get more information about CART, but mycartfund.org is a place where you can go online to make a contribution. And as Rotarians, if your district and your club uses DACDB, then it interfaces with DACDB. So you can literally log in with your DACDB login, which is your Rotary ID and password. If you do not have a DACDB login, you can just create an account. It can still do that for you. But it will track your club, your district, your individual giving. You can set up a recurring gift if you want to do $10 a month or $30 a quarter. You can make a one-time gift. It's a fabulous program that is really allowing us to come into the 21st century and accept donations from around the world. If there are other Rotary clubs and districts that would like to be to participate in the program, we can help set that up as well. As I said, it started, as Amelia said, down in the lower part of middle part of South Carolina, and we're mostly through zones 33 and 34 right now. But we just had a Rotarian from Florida who moved to Kentucky, and he was on our call Monday night, and he is helping us get started in Kentucky. And I spoke to a conference in Minneapolis last year via Zoom. Unfortunately, my trip got canceled, but they have started sending some money to CART. So it just takes us sharing our story with people all around the world, because we all have an interest in finding a cure for this disease.
Are you planning to come to the conference in Houston?
Absolutely. And CART Fund usually has a booth at the International Convention. We had one in Brazil. We had one in Atlanta, and I'm sure they had one last year. I didn't go to
Toronto.
But I know we were planning to have one in Honolulu, but yes, Chris, that is exactly right. Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust, but cash and credit checks, we take it all. Yep.
Thank you.
This is Tom in Florida. I'd like to congratulate you on your wonderful presentation and how smoothly it flows with your English. And I also congratulate you on your very seldom use of the word
Oh, thank you. I was a broadcasting major, so I speak for a living. So I have to say I have a little bit of a help there, actually.
None of the y'alls.
I could say, listen, there's a reason there's no magazine called Northern Living. I'm just saying. Just kidding.
But even for me, it was totally good to understand. So
Good.
thank you.
So for me, English is my second language. Right?
Some people say English is my second language because Southern is my first.
Where do you stay in North Carolina?
I live in Hendersonville, which is in the mountains. It's very near Asheville, about 30 minutes from Asheville. So I'm in the western part of North Carolina. North Carolina is a long state, and we have 6 districts. So I'm in the far west.
45 minutes from my house.
How far?
45 minutes.
Where are you?
Malden, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in Spartanburg.
Spartanburg.
Mhm.
Great
Nice rides.
motorcycling roads out there.
How far are you from Maggie Valley?
Maggie Valley is in my district. I'm about an hour. Mhm.
Oh, boys and girls.
Here in August.
Oh, good.
August 23rd.
Right? That's what's here. You guys have come do that ride?
Tiffany, maybe you'll come visit us at the hotel one night and give us a presentation again, right?
Absolutely. Or just come hang out.
I'm planning on that.
I'm glad to know. Do you have the date? Do you guys know when you're coming?
We do. Jim, you want to chip in on that?
August 26th to August 30th. We'll be in Maggie Valley at Jonathan Campus. We'll only be there at night.
You'll be riding all day.
That's right.
You can ride on the back of one of our motorcycles, Tiffany.
I could do that.
Yes, definitely.
But unfortunately, my back seat will be taken.
That's correct. Yours will. I have lots of friends who have bikes, so.
I'm sure we can come up with somebody with a second seat. My Harley has plenty of room.
Awesome.
Even room for your heels, Tiffany.
I know, right? I don't want to take a risk of them getting burnt. I would not. I have boots for the bike.
Would not work with the heels. Anyway. Yeah.
Tiffany, can you tell us about the latest researcher that got a grant from C.A.R.T?
So there were 5 from last year. Thank you for asking that, Chris. I should have mentioned that. Last year we had 5 total for $1 million. And if you want to hear them speak, and some of them are more high tech than others as far as in their presentation, like we try to ask them to actually dumb it down for us because they're very technical research institution from research institutions around the country. But they do, one of them was a questionnaire asking people questions on the telephone to do pre-screenings for Alzheimer's, which I thought was really interesting. One of them is about light sensitivity and how they can use light therapy to treat the brain and Alzheimer's patients and memory pieces. I'm trying to remember what the other 3 were. They're so in depth and they're so strategic, but the C.A.R.T Fund has a YouTube channel. And so last year, every one of the researchers that received a grant, we had them present at our annual meeting in May. And that will be coming up again this year on the Monday before Mother's Day. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but everyone is invited because it's going to be online again this year. So everyone can come online with us. You can listen to the 5 or 4 or however many researchers are awarded this year. But what we're doing is taking those videos of their presentations and putting them on YouTube. So people can go and watch and learn more about them, but you could also use them as a program for your club meeting if you have a speaker that doesn't show up, or if you want to share information with people. You can literally go and find a 20-minute or so presentation, 20 minutes or less, from a researcher. Dr. Alan Levy from Emory University in Atlanta was one of the very first recipients more than 10 years ago, and he still serves on the research panel that helps to select the winners of the grants every year, which I think is really fascinating that he has stayed so involved with this organization. I think the interesting thing about the C.A.R.T grants is that they're seed money. So they're getting grants of anywhere from, say, $50,000 or $75,000 to $250,000. But the research that they're doing with that seed money is giving them statistics and information that they can use to go to apply for the multi-million-dollar grants through Health and Human Services and through the World Health Organization and CDC and things like that. So what C.A.R.T is doing is providing really necessary seed money to help develop these grants even further. And that, I think, is what's really interesting is 5 years later, when you have a researcher come back to you and say, guess what? The data that I got from the C.A.R.T grant is now part of my HHS grant application. And that's really rewarding to know that we can do that.
Tiffany, can you tell us a little bit about the board of directors of C.A.R.T?
Absolutely. So C.A.R.T has a president who serves a 2-year term, and then a vice president who would then move up, and a secretary and a treasurer. But there's also a vice president of finance that manages the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the finances, but the investments, which is an interesting story I'll share with you. A vice president of finance, and then there's a vice president of public image, which is me right now. And there is a vice president of grants, and that is Dr. Gary Goforth from Florida, who, and all of these people are Rotarians, but he manages the system of sending out the RFPs and then getting in the letters of intent and then narrowing it down. And this year we had 26 researchers who applied with LOIs and wanted to do further. So the group narrowed it down to 7. And the research panel did, that they sent out for full applications, and those have all come back in. And so now they're at the point where they are reviewing those 7 full applications, and the Dr. Goforth actually manages that piece as the vice president of grants. We also have, because of the way the C.A.R.T fund board is set up, there is to be a C.A.R.T district, you have to provide a C.A.R.T district chair, someone who manages all the clubs in that district. I don't know which district you guys come underneath, but we should, I'm sure Chris knows, I'm sure some of you others know, but we could find out 6380 and find out if, I don't think that has a C.A.R.T fund chair probably, so we can work on that. But individual clubs can do it as well. But the board actually has the district governor nominee from every one of the C.A.R.T districts as a voting member of the board, so that everyone is involved. But we were at our executive committee meeting on Monday night, and here's something interesting I learned, that, and y'all, I know nothing about finance. I'm not the person that you want to be the treasurer of your club or to write checks or any of that thing, but I know numbers. And so when the vice president of finance announced to us the other night at the meeting that interest rates are at a historic low and we're making absolutely no money off the money that's sitting in the checking account, we have almost $1 million in our checking account, and we made $50 in interest. $50. It's really sad. And so they're looking at ways to work on that, to see what they can do to make more interest and to make more money. That's not something I know anything about. I can do the social media, I can do the website, I can do the special events and the YouTube channel. That's my area of expertise. And that goes exactly back to what I was saying earlier, that we all have something different that we bring to the table. And you don't want me managing your money. You don't want me writing your checks. You don't want me doing your strategic planning, but I can do social media. I can do public speaking. I can do some public image. So if anyone is interested in working on any of the committees on C.A.R.T, if you feel passionate about Alzheimer's research and about the C.A.R.T fund, we would love to have you participate. We're looking for volunteers on the public image committee, because right now I'm a committee of 1. We're looking for people who would like to help with things. Y'all know about committees of 1, right? We've all done that. We're looking for people who would like to help with strategic planning, people who would like to help with the finance committee to work on things like investments and major gifts. We just recently completed a major gifts policy and a gift acceptance policy, which I worked really hard on last year. So I'm excited about that. And there's another one, and grants, if someone would like to work on the grant review committee, there's that opportunity available. And really public awareness is such a big thing to help. We're getting ready to do a complete redesign of the website. And so if anyone has expertise in that area and would like to volunteer to help or provide input, or even if you have a business that does that and you want an opportunity to get that job, I want to work with Rotarians. So that would be great. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm leaving out, and I apologize, but if you have other questions.
So Tiffany, how many districts participate, and also what percentage of each gift gets donated to the actual research?
Sure. And we talked about that earlier. I think that still to this day, 100% of every donation does go back into research. And that became a challenge because we do have some expenses to pay. We have a part-time executive director. And so this past year, one of the things that we accomplished was the creation of a separate 501c3 nonprofit that sole responsibility is administrative costs. And so now if someone says that's what I want to help with, because if we're earning $50 in interest, we obviously are not going to be able to pay a person's part-time salary on that, or we can't even buy postage for $50. So we did set up a separate 501c3. Ironically, it's instead of being called C.A.R.T, it's called TRAC. It's the backwards TRAC. And I don't know what the T stands for. I can't remember, but it's for the sole purpose of administrative expenses. So if someone wants to put C.A.R.T in their will or their trust or leave a bequest, but they want to help with administrative expenses and overhead costs, they can put it in that and leave it to that nonprofit separately. We also have paid for the new donor portal out of that. We got a designated gift for that. So there are ways to raise money in addition to the minimal interest that we're earning. So that's certainly something. Some people do fundraisers for that. So we're doing that for the sole purpose of maintaining our original intent of 100% of every dollar raised by C.A.R.T and into C.A.R.T goes into the research grants. So as of right now, we have about 900 Rotary clubs in 23 districts that are regularly contributing to the C.A.R.T fund, 23 Rotary districts out of 525 around the world. So we have a little ways to go, but we started in one. So I often say that, small steps, but we're getting there. And that's why I'm happy to share our story. We've got a cadre of people who can share the C.A.R.T fund story with clubs and districts around the country and around the world. And we're happy to do that. So I will make sure I give you again the link for the website, cartfund.org, because you can get some information there. Again, remember, we're about to redo it. It's about to undergo a really deep redesign in the next few months. But don't forget the other link of mycartfund.org is where you can go to make your contribution. And again, if you're a DACDB member, you can use that login. But if you're not, you can set up your own login there. And again, I'm so excited that we can now do recurring gifts, which is exciting. And one of the things that we're working on, if any of you are in the fundraising industry and you want to help with this, we are going to start planning and rolling out at some point a recognition society, much like a Paul Harris Fellow or a Paul Harris Society, so we can recognize those donors who are giving on a regular basis. So I'm game for any of your suggestions on that. I don't want to use the word fellow or society because I don't want to get it confused with Rotary. And some people say, I've heard the comments that people say, well, aren't you competing with polio money? Aren't you worried that people will give to Alzheimer's and C.A.R.T instead of polio? We're not telling you to choose. We're telling you to support your Rotary club or your Rotary district. And many Rotary clubs even have their own foundations. We all give to multiple organizations, from our United Way to our Red Cross, to our Salvation Army, to our churches, to our schools and education foundations, and our Rotary clubs. And there's nothing that says that we can't do that with more than one purpose in Rotary as well. I give my $10 a month, $30 a quarter to the Rotary Foundation because it's the right thing to do. And I trust them that they're going to do the right thing with it. And I'll be able to do some good in the world. But I also give my $10 a month to the C.A.R.T fund, sometimes more, because I get roped into these little wagers with people and I always end up losing, and I always make donations, especially during football season. My Gamecocks have been really bad the last few years, and I've made lots of extra contributions to C.A.R.T on behalf of my Gamecocks every time we lose.
Not now they have Coach Lindsay. They will win.
We've got Coach Beamer now. I'm excited. We're gonna move forward. But so I'm always game for a nice fun wager if someone wants to do that. But I give to both organizations. I can't give a lot. Some people can, but I give what I can. And we don't want to compete with the Rotary Foundation or with Polio Plus. Polio Plus is still and will continue to be for a very long time, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because we haven't eradicated it yet, not because that's the choice. But it will continue to be the primary funding priority of Rotary International. And I fully support that, as I hope all of you do. But I'm passionate about C.A.R.T, and I believe that this is a way that we can truly make a difference and make an impact. And if that's the reason that someone chooses to join Rotary because they're passionate about C.A.R.T, or because they like to ride a motorcycle, or because they want to put clean water in Africa, or because they want to put a dictionary in the hand of a third grader in their community, or they want to tutor, or they want to teach softball, or they want to work with special ed children, whatever the case may be, if that's your why and that's your passion, then you can find that passion and make it your purpose. And that's the beauty of this organization, is that we all have so much to offer, and we can do more than just one thing. I believe that our reason for being in Rotary is to have fun and do good in the world. And if we can do that and share our story with others, then that's a win for everyone.
Yes, that's for sure.
Can I ask a question of the group here? How many of you are aware or know of somebody that has had Alzheimer's? Raise your hand. Yeah, look at that. Almost everybody in the group.
My dad was, no, not my dad, my uncle was passing away, and he started with Alzheimer when he just turned 60. And then he got it, and it was heartbreaking, really heartbreaking. He passed away 6 weeks after my dad. So it was really, really hard. And the problem, what I think, is that this, the mechanism is what gets started when they get the disease, you know, that, yeah.
It's heartbreaking to watch. It truly is.
Nobody wants that. Yes, for sure.
And Ute, you asked a question in the chat. Why don't you go ahead and ask it again?
Do you have a contact to the district 5890?
I don't know that district, so probably not. Where is that?
It's in Houston. It's a Houston, Texas district.
I do not believe that we have any districts in Texas that are currently.
Okay, then I give you an offer. So my husband is a PDG that brought me to Rotary, and I'm a member of Rotary since 1.5 years. So I was only the spouse most of the time. So, but motorcycle is my passion, and I started for 5 years ago as a spouse to organize a motorcycle ride against polio. So that was my entry in this Rotary world, and I love it. And you know, it's really my thing. Everything would have to do with a motorcycle, and I think we can do so much more. And yes, I'm very passionate about it. And I would like to, if you agree with that, because they have an online meeting too. It's a Memorial Spring Branch Club my husband is joining. And I would like, I'm sure they had a speaker over Alzheimer the other day, but I would like to introduce you there. And maybe it's so an important district that normally every year the international president of Rotary is coming and visit. So it's a really, it's a great district. So maybe if you like, I can introduce you there. And you know, like, this is the fun thing in the Zoom meetings. You meet people you would never meet, right?
Absolutely. That I keep telling everybody I talk to that this is as disappointing as all of it is. There are opportunities that we would have never even considered had it not been for this. And you know, my governor year got cut short. I got stuck at home for the last 3 or 4 months. But look what I get to do. I get to talk to people all over the world, and I don't even have to leave. I spoke to 2 clubs this morning between 7 and 8 a.m. One from 7 to 7:30, one to 7:30 to 8. And I had on sweats on the bottom and my socks. I didn't even put on shoes. I just put my makeup on and sat in my chair right here. And we can do that all around the world. And it truly epitomizes what our theme was last year of Rotary Connects the World. We literally got to connect with people that we may have never even met. I did a lot of things differently last year in my district, and we tried a lot of new things that we'd never done before. Again, goes back to that theory of people get nervous when I say I have an idea. I got the Ford dealership in one of my clubs in my area to donate a car for me while I was district governor, to let me use, so that I wasn't putting miles on my own car. And he did. He gave me a Ford Fusion to drive, and I was putting 1,000 miles a week on that car up until I got stuck at home. And I think he was really grateful that there was this. I don't know. He might have had something to do with this pandemic that there were a lot of miles on that car. But I ended up buying the car at the end of my governor year and keeping it. But that was one of those things that I was driving everywhere. And now I just walk down the hall and sit in front of my computer, and I get to see your smiling faces from all over the world. And I will reiterate that I am more than willing, Ute, to speak to his club or any of your other clubs anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter what time of day. I don't sleep much anyway, so I'm happy to log in at any time if we can.
We are only 1 hour away from you, so don't worry about that. Okay, because then I will email you something.
Okay.
and then we get connected with you because of the schedule. There
Great.
is a noon meeting. Actually. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Tiffany?
Thank you. Great presentation, Tiffany. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just imagine how much more fun I am in person.
Yes. This is what we say the whole time because we are so over the place. Last year we wanted to meet in Texas Hill Country. It's a pretty nice area for riding and everything. And then the pandemic came and we have to stop anything. But, my year as a president of this club, it's starting at July. So, it's the 1st of July. So I'm very excited. And I will ending with the convention in Houston. And of course, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. I gotta rumble here.
I forgot to mention, but if everybody will smile very quickly, I want to take a screenshot so I can put this on social media. So y'all smile at your camera. Everybody smile. Here they come. Wait, let's wait on them. Oh. Okay, everybody smile. All right, we got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany. Hey, Ron Mead,
Yes, ma'am.
would you do the 4-way, 5-way test, please?
Sure. Of all the things we say, think, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and friendship? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And number 5?
And will it be fun?
Perfect.
And can you do it on 2 wheels?
Yeah. No board meeting. We'll do that next week. Have a great week, everybody.
See everybody next week. Thanks again.
Bye, guys. Thank y'all.
Thank you.